All of the boys, they wanna come to my yard. Touch up on my body cause they know I'm hot. All of the boys, they wanna come to my yard. Kiss up on my body cause they know I'm hot.
Hey y'all, welcome back. Hi guys, we outside, so you're gonna
Hitting
hear
champagne on the patio.
yes, ma'am. You're gonna hear a little bit of everything. Some birds chirping. You might hear a lawnmower. Everybody wanna mow their lawn today.
Couple calls.
You know, the usual, which you don't get to hear.
In our quiet behind neighborhood.
Yeah.
Raekwon, put your dog away.
I'm screaming. Yeah, so just bear with us. You know, it may sound a little different, but you'll be alright. But how is everyone doing?
Right, wellness check. How are y'all feeling?
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. It's been a very interesting couple of weeks.
Your black friends are tired.
Very much so. Like, it's been... Like, don't get me wrong. Some stuff has been good, but it's definitely been tiring. Like, a lot more bad, if I could say that. I don't know how to... I'm gonna be quiet, but it's been tiring.
No, keep going, because I think, like, right now it's just a lot. You know, and I feel like we haven't had a moment to really digest it, especially as people of color, because we've been attacked. You know, like everyone's been affected by COVID in some way, but then like specifically the black and brown communities are just experiencing something that a lot of people just cannot relate to and you don't understand. And I feel like it's coming out in so many different ways, especially for a lot of people who are working or not working or just have their own trials and tribulations right now.
I would agree. Even if you haven't been like affected by the virus directly, like in the sense of having had it, there's also the pressure and the stigma to get vaccinated. There's also the fact that a lot of us have been essential workers, so we've had to work through the entire pandemic, if not half of it. You know, there's also the fact that a lot of us speaking for those who have, they may have lost their jobs or, you know, had to quit because their kids are at home. And guess what? Kids can't be home by themselves because that's when diapers gets called.
What again? Meek Mill Wednesday? Your mama on crack? Your
I'm
daddy in jail?
screaming.
Who gonna babysit?
Not the noodles, baby. Ooh! But no, I feel like it's definitely been a trying couple of months. But within the, I'd say, last 4 weeks, we've definitely just been going through it. And the topic of the podcast for today, if I could jump into it, is the Black Lives Matter movement and just what it means to us, what we've seen it do, and what we would like to see coming from it. As you all have heard, we got a victory, if you want to call it that. We definitely saw some form of justice with the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, or however you pronounce his last name, trial. Yeah, him. And just that small, I'm calling it a victory because, listen, I didn't know where that was going to go. I felt like the case itself, the murder, shook the world, not just the United States, but the world. Yeah. And just to see something come out of it, even if he's not serving 25 to life, y'all, I feel like it's, dare I say it, better than nothing. It's one of those moments where it's just like, all right, take a deep breath, exhale, something is being done. So, yeah, that and just the slaying of Daunte Wright, and then not even shortly after, Adam Toledo, and then
not even a week later,
not even Makia, I believe her name is Makaya. Forgive me, Lord, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but just like all of these black and brown bodies just dropping, and it's like, all right, we got this victory, but dag, y'all just don't know how to stop. Like, what in the world? It's just a lot going on. And for me personally, as someone who's always been the little radical, that's what they call me in my house, just after a while, you really do need to take a break. Like, I felt guilty for not saying anything on social media or not posting as frequently as I do, especially when certain situations arise. But I literally have been going through so much with work and personal life, and then to put that on top of it was like, y'all are trying to take me out.
Right. True.
y'all were trying to take me out this week.
Like, y'all not even coming for the legs, y'all coming for the jugular.
Exactly, like all of it, the heart, the friggin' arteries, all of it, just taking me out. So, tell you.
I have not been able to watch any of the videos, and not even because I haven't had access to them, but because mentally I see so many different people who could have been those young men and that young lady, and the hundreds of young women and young men that whose stories just have not been told. And it's almost like you have no words. I feel like if you have not been through a situation like that, or if you're not a person of color, and this is not to say that you don't feel our pain, but it's a difference when you see someone who looks like you and you're trying to just pinpoint what the exact difference is between their situation and your own, and you really can't figure it out. Like, that could have easily been either of us, God forbid. That could have easily been one of our brothers, a cousin. Like, that could have been anyone in our family. So it just hits home because it just hits home. It just hits home. And for it to be so repetitive and back to back and on top of it, everything, and it's like Shania said, you get a victory, quote unquote, and then it's like someone else is being dying. And I was talking to a friend about it, and I made the scenario or the metaphor that if they had to stay there until they got all the cases done, they would never leave. Literally, if you could not go home, it would just be like, okay, we did George Floyd, let's do Ahmaud, or we have to do someone else, or we have to do someone else. They would literally never go home. You would just choose a spot and go to sleep. And to think of it that way, it just brought it into a new perspective, because it's like, we're really just dropping. And with the George Floyd case, the fact that it took over a year for them to even come to a verdict when something that was clearly a murder or just clearly misconduct is just like, again, what if that's someone else? Like, do we have to wait a whole year for justice for them? I can't imagine being his daughter and having that foundation in my life that if I or my dad or anyone who looks like me passes away, there's a chance that our lives will not be justified. And man, I'm really just at a loss for words. Like, it pisses you off, but at the same time, it's just so hard sometimes being a black person in the state of America, or just in the world in general, I guess.
I say this all the time. Being black is so fun. It's such an experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but there are definitely days where it's like, boy, I'm literally like, no pun intended, like we're out here dodging bullets. Like, just every day that you can like come home, and this isn't for everybody because everybody's experience is different.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who literally making it home and waking up the next day. Those are true blessings for everybody. But like for them, it's like really not guaranteed, and it blows my mind that when I enter a room, my skin and my hair and my facial features can literally change the whole entire mood. Like, it can instill fear in you. Like, I like to think I'm the nicest person you'll probably meet. I think I'm too nice sometimes. But like, the fact that we as a people have to walk on eggshells, and not even just around others, but sometimes ourselves, because it is so ingrained that blackness is weaponized. It's like, it comes with so much stigma, so much hate, so much just nonsense. Like, people have really turned being black into something negative. And with this movement of having to go out and remind people that my life, very similar to yours, matters. Like, when it first came about in 2013, I was like, why are we even chanting this? Like, of course Black Lives Matter. Like, this is something that we all know. But after doing research and like really sitting and having to like explain to my counterparts that yes, this person's life, whether they committed the crime or not, whether they were at the scene or not, whether they did what you think they did or not, matters, and that cops are not the judge, jury, and executioner. you really can't help but to see why we need the movement and like why we put so much stock into it, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does make sense. And I don't want anyone to feel like they're discredited or that, our lives hold more value than anyone else in the world, because that's not true. But when you see, and if you look into the media, and if you just see everything, like, you always see a brown or black body that's, dead at 27 or taken at 6 years old. Like, that's not normal. And honestly, I don't see too many of our other counterparts having those type of issues. And people could sit there and say, oh, it's our own fault, but how do you say it's our fault if we're not the ones killing ourselves? How do you say it's our fault if, we're put into different environments, great, and we're trying to do the best that we can, but things are happening and we're just doing our best, and, they're still coming and trying to kill us? It's like, how is that our fault? I feel like, if anything, and again, this is not to discredit anyone else, but I feel like we're one of the most resilient races out there, because if you really look back into our history and see everything that we've had to gone through and overcome to be in certain positions that people are in, like, literally, if we would have went by Jim Crow laws, and if we would have went by everything that was put in place systematically, there would be no black doctors, there would be no black lawyers, there wouldn't have been a black president. Like, all these different things never would have came into fruition if we really didn't remain resilient and understand our power. And I feel like sometimes we as black people, we are comfortable in our power, and there's some people who aren't. So when you're comfortable in your power and they realize that you know who you are, they try to tear you down automatically. And this could go for anyone who's just in their power, knows their worth. But specifically for us, it's like they come into our space intentionally trying to break you down. It's like, bro, I didn't send for you, so why'd you come? So it's just, I really feel like we're resilient, we're beautiful, and to see us still band together in a time where we could easily fall apart, a time where we could easily riot to the last building is burned down, but we still choose to be peaceful and respectful of people's lives and lift others up and do the best that we can. It really is a reflection of what it really means to be black.
I would agree with that. We are definitely a resilient group. We may bend, but we do not break. And I'm sorry. Go off.
She said, "Oh, I'm co-signing."
She must be going through the same stuff we going through. But for real, like, just we are a group that has literally. It seems like we really can't catch a break, and I hate to like speak that over us as a whole, but like for real though, like it seems like we really have been trying to catch a break since the beginning of time, and I think that with everything that we go through and everything that we have gone through and have yet to go through, black people just, we take everything not necessarily with a grain of salt, but we take it in stride, I guess. I don't really know how to word this, but because we've been through so much, it's like, all right, this is just another setback, which is a set up for a comeback, or however that saying goes. Like, we really just be like, all right, what else y'all gonna throw at us? Because we not stopping. Like, we have no reason to stop. It's like you said, when you know your worth and you know what you're destined to be, I don't foresee us ever just being like, all right, well, you know what, guys, let's call it quits. We tried, they didn't want to give us what we wanted. Yeah, no, that's not happening. Like, and just tapping into the movement. Like I said, like, for me, I genuinely did not know that it all, like, really originated in 2013. Because when I had first, like, really started hearing about it, it was, like, 2014 after Mike Brown. And, like, I went to a PWI, so my professor is, like, sitting in front of us, like, how do you guys...
I'm trying to kick it up, y'all. We gotta let it go.
We edited you out. And he's sitting there, and he's like, how do you guys not care about this? Like, why are you not upset and enraged? Like, your skin isn't boiling. Like, this is one professor, and then you have another professor when the incident happened at Mizzou and all of the black students were protesting. He was like, I can't believe these kids would get the audacity to try to tell a president how to do their job at a university that they are lucky to go to. So I'm getting it from both ends, and I'm looking like, are we on crack? Is this what society has come to? Are we really sitting here like trying to like debate whether or not these students who pay to go to this school should have the right to feel comfortable to speak up, or are we really like sitting here trying to explain to a group of students that they should be upset that someone who could have easily been them, or that may not even look like them but is still a human being, is deceased now because of Trigger Fingers McGee? Like, I don't
Trigger Fingers McGee.
like I just don't. For me, when it all started, it was kind of like, this is new, I don't understand it fully, but I really need to get a grasp on it, because this is technically our Black Panther Party in my eyes. Like, this is the movement that's really spurring the my black is beautiful, you know, it's cool to be black, I guess. I don't know, like it's doing that for our generation. And it's not necessarily just like the 20-year-olds and the teenagers and stuff that are doing it. No, there are people who are descendants of Black Panthers, or just sick and tired and fed up and like really with the shiz, and they're like, we're not doing this anymore. Y'all gonna pull up or shut up, like give us the change that we want, or we're in your face, knocking on your door, lobbying in your, you know, city halls, calling on our mayors, politicians, and everybody else, because it ain't changing over here and it ain't stopping. Like, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place, but like, this is
I'm laughing at them because I'm like, they keep chimed in right at the end, like, yep. And I'm like, all right. But I agree. I mean, the only way that we'll see change is if we remain persistent. And I really commend those who have remained persistent, not let up off the gas. You know, having the opportunity to have protests in our hometown last summer, and to still feel the need that we need to protest a year later. I mean, obviously, we have the civil rights movement. We've had so many different things in our history where we've had to sit there and protest and speak up. It's not surprising that, you know, we're still going through it, because it's been here this whole time. I think it's just becoming more prevalent because of these different occurrences that are happening, like back to back to back. And, you know, it's comforting that they're getting the attention that they deserve, because this is something that, you know, this is basically pillow talk for us. This is something that we've always gone through, whether it's been when your cousins, you know, being killed, or, you know, something happening to your uncle or someone when they got pulled over. Like, these are not nuances for us. Like, this is something that has always been there, but for a lot of people, I feel like it's controversial because they haven't heard about it, they haven't had to gone through it. Like, this is not something that y'all have had to talk about at your dinner tables, but this ain't nothing new. So I really applaud those who are like, nah, y'all are gonna see it, y'all are gonna hear it. You know, I would love to be one of those people. Can I be courageous like that sometimes? Yeah, but sometimes I don't, not gonna lie. But, you know, I feel like we're in an era of social media at the same time, so a lot of people are sharing, a lot of people are taking advantage of, you know, their platforms to inform other people and, you know, host those type of conversations. So even if you're not out there on the field in the forefront, you know, handling whatever, there's still a different way to participate. And also is another tool that we've used to spread the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement. And, you know, when George Floyd and everyone else was killed, it provided that platform and that news outlet if you don't necessarily watch, you know, traditional news, Fox, CNN, whatever.
100%. I love that you brought that up. The beauty of this movement is that we do have it is a little bit more interconnected. So it's like, yes, you have different chapters in different cities, but because of social media and the internet in general, we're able to interact with one another. And all right, we're hosting a protest in Chicago this weekend. All right, I can't fly out to Chicago, but I'm gonna make sure that if anybody can, I'll post it on my story, or I'll post it on, you know, my page. I'll speak about it on my podcast, so that if you are in Chicago and you happen to follow me, you can get your behind outside, or you can share it yourself to people. Like you said, not everybody is as vocal or as boisterous. You know, some people genuinely fear for their lives, which I don't blame them. You've seen how these protests can go from kumbaya, peaceful, we all sitting there, you know, discussing our viewpoints, maybe chanting a little bit, and then all of a sudden the boys in blue are on us like, you know, white on rice, and it's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. We was minding our business. It wasn't like we were provoking you all, but here we are again. I think that with the enhancements of the internet and the many different platforms, not just you know, social networks, but like, I guess YouTube is the social network. You have YouTube, you have the comment threads on CNN, you have the comment threads on Fox, if that's your preference. You know, you just have all these different ways that you can interact and share your opinion and get it out there. And I don't know, I was reading somewhere that I think like the hashtag itself, and during the time of George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter hashtag, I think they were saying it was being put out there at least 500,000, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they said 500,000 different hashtags or different uses of the hashtag per day. So in a 24-hour span, you have all these people saying these things. Now, granted, I'm sure not all of them were positive, because we do have people who try to take this and turn it into something crazy. I have heard about politicians trying to get this movement put on like the banned list or some sort of hate group list, and I'm just like, how is it that the KKK has not made it to this list that you're so adamantly trying to get us on? But, you know, that's another discussion for another day. I feel like a lot of people, for them it's like, it's either good or bad. And I feel like it's gotten to a point where you really have to defend it. It's deeper than just defending that person. But if I myself go out and say, well, you know, I think that Black Lives Matter, I really have to put on my suit of armor and get ready to go into battle because you want to hit me with the all lives matter, or what about black on black crime, or, you know, something stupid along the lines of, well, he deserved it, or she deserved it, or she did this, or she did that. I can give you several cases of people who were doing absolutely nothing and still were murdered, where they stand, where they slept, where they were doing their job. And I can still give you several cases of people who were in the act of doing something that they probably weren't supposed to and still did not deserve to be gunned down, choked out, put into some weird position on the ground. Restraint. Like, exactly, like, it's just mind-boggling how people can like try to demonize a movement that's like really just trying to better society, if you ask me.
I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I 100% agree, but I feel like, and I had this conversation with another friend as well, where I understand why certain people view it differently, because so many people have become aware of it and don't necessarily utilize it for the purpose that it was meant for, it's starting to become a bit diluted, because you have so many people voicing their opinions and it's not being used again with the intention that it was, you know, created for. So naturally, if you're following a certain group of people, or, you know, you're just befriend a certain group of people or whatever, and they're talking of it in a negative light, and you don't necessarily follow those people or know people who are using it in the way that it was intended for, which I don't understand, because it's everywhere at this point. But naturally, some people don't have social media. There are people out there who do not have social media, so I understand. But if you're around a certain group of people, those influences are going to start to make a strong difference in the way that you view something. And that's with anything. You know, the same way you grow up and you hear your parents in your ear, you get to a certain age and you have to decide whether you want to listen to it or whether you want to start, you know, making your own decisions and things like that. The same thing goes for this. So do I agree with those people who are out there spreading their quote unquote truth and what they believe it was meant to be for? Absolutely not. But do I understand the dilution and things like that? Yeah, you know, something to think about, but I'm not going to sit here and, you know, credit that and say, oh, that's better than this and that's better than that, or, you know, Black lives don't matter. Like, if you want to say all lives matter, that's your opinion. All lives do matter, but right now we're specifically focusing on Black lives, because the Black lives are the ones that you're seeing in the media, on the news, that are being attacked, and it's not fair, you know, because if you see any other race out there, Johnny Sue and his mama done got kidnapped. Oh my gosh, Johnny Sue, we have to find them. But if you see a black child on TV, it's almost like, oh damn, they got another one. It's not even the same reaction anymore. So it's gotten to a point where I understand both sides, but I still stand with Black Lives Matter.
If I could tap into like what you just said, and it may be like random, but like just tap into it, because like I feel like a lot of people think that when it comes to Black Lives Matter, it only pertains to like police brutality. I think that it stretches much deeper than that. It's very much so kind of like a wide and broad statement, because it taps into the trans lives, it taps into the Army veterans and those who are actively serving, it taps into the children and men and women who are forced into like sex slavery and labor camps, or you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Just like it's much deeper than just, all right, John got popped by Officer Cooper. Like, no, it's much deeper than that. Like, and it's like, for me, a lot of people see it as just, all right, we're going to get together when somebody gets killed.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if you're, and this is not to say that you're not in it to win it, but if you're really into it, you know that it goes deeper than just that. We're talking about police reform, but we're also talking about reforming our schools. We're talking about making sure that the people in these neighborhoods who don't have the resources get to the resources. I've seen chapters start up food banks. I've seen them, you know, go out of their way to not only serve meals but give out clothing, and making sure that people are well versed in at this current moment COVID protocol and like how to social distance, giving out masks, making sure they have hand sanitizer, setting up hand washing stations throughout different little major cities and areas. Like, so I feel like it's much deeper than what people try to paint it out to be, because I feel like most of the negativity and the naysaying comes when someone is murdered by a police officer. But I feel like if you looked at the movement as a whole and you see what really spurred up after it, because don't get me wrong, I could definitely be wrong, but I believe the Me Too movement came about after Black Lives Matter, and the Women's March, I believe that also came about after like the spurring of Black Lives Matter. So it's not like, I'm not going to say we laying the groundwork or nothing, but I definitely feel like we've inspired other movements that we also have like our own claim to. I feel like it's a little bit more intersectional in that sense than people like to make it out to be. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there.
I mean, I agree that we've used it in such a negative connotation when it's actually, you know, supposed to be more so a positive thing. That's what it was originally intended for, and then negative things just starting to happen. So then we was like, you know, we got to tag that along because that matters as well. I'm not going to say that it inspired other things. I'm going to say that it definitely gave people the courage that they needed to start these different things. Like the Me Too movement, I really started seeing it more after the whole, this is the only time I'm going to say this man's name, the whole R. Kelly thing. So, I mean, granted, it was definitely there before that, but I feel like it definitely gained a lot of traction after that. But yeah, I definitely think this was one of the major movements within our generation. I mean, there's been a lot. There's honestly been a lot, but I think this has been one of the most talked about, one of the most globalized, one of the most, is globalized the word? It is. But I think it's just one of the most popular things in our lives right now, because it's something that we go through every single day. Whether it's a good thing and you just, you know, go out with your friends, or you just see a group of black people enjoying themselves, or whether you see a lot of the negative things that we've seen in the media, I think, you know, it really just pertains to your situation at the same time, and the situations that you see around you. Because again, if you're in a more of a positive situation, you're going to use it in more of a positive light. But now that we're in a negative, more of a darker place, you know, that's where it's heading. But that does not discredit all the positivity that you said that people are doing, and all the giving that people are doing, and basically a lot of charity work, a lot of putting yourself on the back burner and really taking a look to see what's happening in your environment, whether your environment is A+, A1 top grade, or whether it's not necessarily up there. It's about making sure that you have this vision for what Black Lives looks like. Black Lives Matter looks like, and it's about making sure that you're making that vision come true.